My name is Brent Sellers. I'm the director here at the Range Cattle Research and Education Center. And on behalf of the faculty, staff, and students here, I'd like to welcome everyone to our virtual field day. Unfortunately, with COVID, we had to make the difficult decision to transition our in-person field day to a virtual platform. And while we're very disappointed about that, we hope we can put on a good program for everybody today. Our special guest today will include Ifas Vice President Scott Engel. We have guest speakers from our department chairs, Agronomy Department, Kevin Kenworthy, Wildlife Ecology and Conservation, Eric Helgren.
This is not designed to put you to sleep. Turn the lights.
The Department of Animal Sciences, John Arthington. We'll also hear from Cliff Coddington, the current FCA president. And after that, you'll be hearing from our faculty programs as well as a few of our students. I'd like to give a little bit of an update on the center itself. We're going to go back a couple of years because we didn't have our last field day, so I'm going to give you a little bit more information than we normally would. Last July, we hired Hans Ellington as our wildlife specialist here at the center. So he has been with us since last July, first remotely due to COVID while he's still living in Canada, and then finally made it here in January of this year. More recently, we have hired another position, which is brand new to our center, a watershed hydrologist, which will be housed in the Soil and Water Science Department. Her name is Dr. Gulmar Gomohamadi. I practice that a lot. She will be starting with us in January this coming year. And her goal will be to understand the fate and transport of nutrients on a watershed scale and develop and implement management strategies to minimize nutrient transport from agricultural areas, but especially grazing lands. So this year we celebrate 80 years of being a center with UF Ifas. And that's something that we're very excited about. And a lot has changed here at the center. You can go through the archives looking at old photos and see how it's changed from the 1940s to today. But I think one thing that hasn't changed is the fact that we still share science-based information with our clientele. And I think one of the ways that we can share or show how important our science-based information is by seeing the success of our faculty and our students. So I wanted to share some of the things or some of the areas where our faculty and our students have been successful in the last couple of years. I'm going to start with Philippe Morial. In 2020, he was a recipient of the UF Ifas Richard Jones Outstanding New Faculty Award, and also the Christine Waddell Extension Professional Enhancement Award. More recently, this past year, he was just promoted to associate professor with tenure. A great milestone for his early career. In 2020, Maria Silveira was co-author of one of the 8 publications that were recognized as high impact UF Ifas publications. And she also became the chair of the multi-state project examining the beneficial use of residuals to improve soil health and protect public and ecosystem health. And that is a 5-year term. Joe Vendermini received the Extension Award at the 2020 American Society of Animal Science Southern Section meeting in January of last year. And Chris Pravat was the recipient of 2 Extension Awards, one from the Florida Association of County Agricultural Agents, as well as the National Association of County Agriculture Agents in 2020. I think most of our faculty programs realize that we would not be successful without our students. And I wanted to highlight a few of their accomplishments as well. Jaime Garzon, which is in Dr. Vendermini's program. Last year at the Tri-Society meetings, which is American Society of Agronomy, Crop Science Society of America, and Soil Science Society of America, at the 2020 annual meeting, won first place in the Robert F. Barnes PhD oral competition. And Dr. Silvera's program, Leandro Vieira Filho, placed second in the Soil and Water Management and Conservation Graduate Student Poster Competition at the Tri-Society meetings. And more recently, was the winner of the UF-IFAS College of Ag and Life Sciences, William C. and Bertha M. Cornett Fellowship. And this fellowship is awarded annually to a graduate student in agriculture who demonstrates leadership, promise, and scholarship. So we're very proud of Leandro for that accomplishment. In Dr. Vendamini's program, we have Elizabeth Palmer. She has received several awards during her PhD program, and she is about to finish up that program as well. She received the American Society of Animal Science Southern Section Joseph P. Fontenot Award, and was one of 4 students in the Animal Science Department here at UF-IFAS to receive a scholarship from the Florida Feed Association. She also placed 3rd in the graduate student poster competition at the American Society of Animal Science annual meeting, all of these occurring in 2020. This year, Liz also won the I'm going to get that wrong, the Southern Section Emerging Scholar Award this past July. So during COVID, so I want to congratulate all the faculty and students for those awards over the past couple of years. During COVID, we shut down for a little bit. We kind of limped in maintenance mode for a while, but we realized that we had to keep the center going forward. So the faculty met last December and revamped our strategic plan for the next 5 years, and we're currently in year 1 of that 5-year plan. And part of that plan, I'm not going to share all of it today, but part of that plan is enhancing collaboration with state agencies, water management districts, conservation groups, and traditional, non-traditional clientele. I think that's something that's going to be critical to move us forward. The other key thing that I want to focus on is improving infrastructure. A lot's changed at the center in the last 80 years. We had a great movement over the last 15 years of improving our facilities on the academic side of the research center. Now we need to focus on the farm side and improve our cow working pens and our feed handling facility. This year, we're also grateful that we're able to receive funding again from the Florida Cattle Enhancement Board. The faculty here at the center were able to secure funding in at least 6 different proposals. And those are just proposals that are actually housed here at the research center. That doesn't even count the ones where our faculty are co-PIs on projects that are being funded by the Cattle Enhancement Board. So we'd like to thank the Florida Cattle Enhancement Board for their continued support of the research center. Lastly, before I introduce our MC for today, I would like to thank Andrea Dunlap for all of her work putting this field day together, as well as the proceedings. That there should be a link in the chat box if you don't know that already. I also like to thank Julie Warren, because she's behind the scenes hitting that record button, making sure everything goes well behind the scenes. And last, I'd like to thank the faculty, staff, and students here at the center. Last 2 years has been kind of rough on a lot of us. And I just thank you for your resilience and for keeping us going strong. So at this point, I would like to introduce Laura Bennett. Laura will be our MC today. She is a graduate of UF and received her MS in ruminant nutrition in collaboration with USDA STARS Research Station in Brooksville. Her master's thesis involved forage finishing beef on perennial peanut and studying grazing patterns. Laura previously worked in livestock and 4-H extension programs in Brevard and Nassau counties, and over the past 20 years worked with her husband in their family business. She currently is a multi-county livestock extension agent for Pasco, Sumter, and Hernando counties, and participates in both the South Florida Beef Forage Program and the Central Florida Livestock Agents Group. Laura, thank you so much for being here today, and you can take over.
Good morning, everyone. And I'm really happy to be here. And I am so happy Andrea is helping with this whole project because it's very nerve-wracking. So I get the pleasure of introducing Dr. Scott Angle. Dr. Scott Angle became UF's Vice President for Agriculture and Natural Resources and the leader of UF Ifas in July of 2020. We are gratified but not surprised to have him with us today because he has crisscrossed the state to meet with stakeholders face-to-face, and he's zoomed into many science events. He has visited so many places that are important to the cattle industry: the Range Cattle REC, the Mariana branch of the North Florida REC, the Beef Teaching Unit in Gainesville, and 48 extension offices, including most of those that are in cattle country, such as Okeechobee, Polk, Highlands, and Osceola. He plans to visit the other 19 by early next year. Wow, you better gas up your vehicle. And he has attended several industry events, including the FCA convention in June, where he took time to visit with those of us in the South Florida Beef Forage Program. I also had the opportunity to introduce Dr. Angle to former Florida Cattlemen's Association President Larry Bartle when he visited our Pasco Extension office for one of his visits. He has also been to Buck Island Ranch to visit Gene Lawless. He has even personally hosted a 4-H livestock family on campus for lunch and a tour of the Animal Sciences Department on 2 different occasions. Before coming to Florida, Dr. Angle served as director of the National Institute of Food and Agriculture. This is the research funding arm of the USDA. He has also led the nonprofit International Fertilizer Development Center, served as Dean of the University of Georgia's College of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences, and was a faculty member at the University of Maryland for 24 years. So Dr. Angle, the Zoom floor is yours.
Well, thank you and good morning, everyone. I noticed you just had trouble getting University of Georgia out of your mouth there. Let me just say first, I'm thrilled to be here with all of you. I'm thrilled to be in Florida. This is a absolutely amazing state with a very bright future. Yes, we have plenty of issues and problems and things to work on, but it's probably the most optimistic state in the country right now. And I'm glad to be a part of your industry and to support the other great ag industries in the state. I want to begin by just thanking the FCA president, Cliff, for all of your support. Past president's support for us in Tallahassee. We live or die by what happens in Tallahassee. We are servants of the citizens of the state, and our support begins with you, channels through our legislators in Tallahassee, and ultimately enables us to do what we do. And I hope the reason why you do what you do for us and your support, your long-term support, is because you feel like you're getting good value from the faculty and staff and students that work for the University of Florida, particularly at ONA, or excuse me, at the Range Cattle Center. So again, thank you for being a part of this team. It's worked really well for so long, and I will pledge to you that my goal is to make sure that we continue to have a great partnership. And I think that we are off to a good start. 80 years ago, the Florida Cattlemen and Livestock Journal had reported that purebred bulls in Florida were just a curiosity. There weren't many of them. It was a very different business, and that hardly any land in Hardy County had been planted to improve grasses. That was 80 years ago. Let's fast forward to where we are today. The size of the industry, the impact of the industry, and the science of the industry, and some of the amazing things that they do, and how much has changed. So there have been a lot of people who have been responsible for getting us from where we were 80 years ago to today. And I'm really honored to be part of the continuity of that relationship, particularly with the University of Florida. I've been able to work with several of your past presidents, certainly Gene Lawless and now Cliff Coddington, but also Matt Pierce, because he serves on our Duluth Advisory Board. And Larry Bartle, again, thank you for all that you do. And finally to Jim Hanley, who seems like I talk to Jim at least once a week. Jim is clearly involved closely in your industry, but he helps agriculture in just so many other ways. So Jim, especially thank you for your efforts in promoting Ifas, both in the county and in the state of Florida, but also nationally. He's one of our 3 delegates who will help promote what we do at the federal level. These are some great people I've had the opportunity to work with. There is one more who I want to mention that will be coming in here soon. We've been without a dean of extension for a number of months now, but I'm pleased to announce that Andre Johnson, who is coming to us from Penn State, will start on November 1st. Andre, I chose him because he understands service and the service mentality that we are here to support your industry. He grew up and he's worked on, and his family owned a Black Angus herd in Louisiana. He knows your industry well. I think you're going to be really happy with him and his background. But again, mainly it's because he understands that service leadership to you is why the University of Florida, why Ifas is here to do what we do. So let me talk for a couple minutes about my vision for where I see Ifas going and how we can interact with the Range Cattle Center and why it has become what it is today. And first of all, there's focus of the Range Cattle Center on cattle production. A lot of our centers do a lot of things really well, but our Range Cattle Center really just does one main thing, but it does that incredibly well. There are not many other centers around the country that can claim to do work, the science of successful ranching in the way that we see at our Range Cattle Center. So they will continue to focus on your industry. And secondly, we've had good continuity of leadership. Brent Sellers, Brent, you're just the 5th director of our program there. And so we've had a lot of long-term great support, and that has helped us keep our eye on the ball. And what are the main problems? Being part of the community, understanding what the issues are, and then keeping us, going back to my first point, focused on those areas where we can make the strongest impact. This center, I've been here several times now. There probably is no center in Florida for research centers where we have greater ties with the industry. I was just amazed first time I was there with the industry and the way it showed up and the things that you told me about your appreciation for the work there and the importance of the work in helping you stay in business. I understand, and I say this wherever I go, that agriculture, whether you're in beef cattle or citrus, it's a business. And yes, we love what we do. We love our contribution to our culture and society, but it is a business and you need to make money. You can either do that by making sure that your input costs are reduced as much as possible, or the what you get paid for your product is, because of either quality or quantity, is as much as possible. Sometimes we can't control all of that. We obviously live in a global market today, but we will always continue to do those things to help you remain profitable as businessmen and businesswomen in this great industry. So our connection with the industry is strong, and my job, Brent's job, and our faculty and staff will be to help that remain the way it has been for so long. I wish that other people in the state of Florida, I wish that everyone could go to our Range Cattle Center and see the type of work that we are doing there, particularly when it comes to interactions with the environment, conservation, interactions with wildlife and water and clean air. Sometimes we get a bad rap. And as I've traveled around the state, particularly when you're east or west of our 2 main highways, there's not much of an appreciation for all that we do, particularly in the beef cattle industry, and the benefits that we have to clean water, clean air, clean soil, wildlife habitat, carbon sequestration for climate change. That the list just goes on and on and on. But it's something that is out there every day at a range cattle center. It's easy to see, it's easy to understand. We all understand the importance of all of that. Jim Strickland, particularly, he's been I want to give him a special shout out because Jim is in so many ways has led this effort, both within the state of Florida, but also nationally too. If you don't know, he's a major leader as we talk about agriculture and its interaction with the environment, but particularly how agriculture, rangeland, even forest land can become not just a neutral part of our ecosystem, but a positive part of our ecosystem by doing things like cleaning the water and locking up carbon from the atmosphere so that we can do CO2 concentrations and have an impact on climate change. I know the Secretary of Agriculture will be talking about that maybe today, and how this industry can have a major impact on climate change and what the USDA will be doing to help promote and, in my mind, reward you for all of those what we call ecosystem services and how we can make a difference on many, many, many levels. So Jim, thanks again for what you do. I also do want to let you know that Jim will be getting our Ifas 2021 Land Steward of the Year award, and this will be coming up soon. So Jim, congratulations to that too. And you know, whether it's Jim or so many others, this relationship, I know I keep coming back to this, but it makes a difference for all of us, and particularly for the University of Florida Ifas to be able to support you. As you heard, I have been to I've been to all of our research centers around the state and a good number of our extension offices. And when I'm there, I talk about where I see the organization going. I want to give you just a heads up on a couple of these things. First of all, you're going to be hearing a lot about artificial intelligence, particularly in the beef cattle industry. There are many, many different areas where artificial intelligence is going to come into play. So whether it's monitoring herds at a distance for things that may be going right or may be going wrong, or leading some of our research efforts to help us breed better cattle, because right now we have literally millions of data points, not just here in Florida, but nationally. How do you take all of that data and use that to make breeding decisions for traits that are positive for what you are looking for? There's no way a human can do that. There's just too much information for us to assimilate all of that. The supercomputer and using AI is able to sort through all of that data and then make recommendations for us as we develop better breeding programs. And ultimately, you're going to have access to this data too. And it's going to have, I think, a transformative experience for how we look at beef cattle management, but also dairy and all of the other agricultural products that we produce here in Florida. So that day is coming, and this is not something that's going to happen 10, 20 years from now. We're talking 1, 2, 3 years before you start seeing artificial intelligence integrated into your decision-making process, if not already. I mentioned earlier about some of the land and how Florida has changed. But one of the things we've been really honored here recently, and it does have an impact, we'll be connected up to our cattle industries, is that Elizabeth DeLuca very generously donated 27,000 acres of land in mid-Florida to Ifas. We're going to use this land to look at how agriculture and animal production and the environment and forests and water and soil and air, how do they all interact with one another to allow us to continue to produce the products that we do, but also at the same time with cleaning the environment. It's an incredible piece of property. Some of it's had very light management over the last 100 years or so. Some of it has been heavily managed. And we're also looking at how that degree of management impacts how we look at that land going forward. It makes some land more appropriate for some activities and not so much for other, but that's going to be a place where we're going to learn much more about this. This land was a donation from Mrs. DeLuca, but we are working with the Cattlemen's Association to make sure that the work that goes on there is appropriate, is supportive of your industry. And once again, we are going to need your support in Tallahassee to make sure that we have what we need, which usually comes down to finances, but we have what we need to continue the work at the DeLuca property and make sure that it is supportive of your industry. I want to thank the Cattle Enhancement Board for all of you have done. You are supporting some work at this new location. You're supporting a lot of other faculty and staff. You're supporting our students. These students are in many ways the future of your industry, whether they come from families that own land or they will be getting into your industry as an employee. But it's something that training clearly is a core mission for the University of Florida. And on that note, I want to just talk to you a bit about that. I've talked to many other groups about this, but it's another this is another opportunity to make this point. It's hard to get in the University of Florida. I've said this jokingly, but it's not a joke. I could not have gotten into the University of Florida when I was coming out of high school a long time ago. The standards are just so high. So for those young people who can get into the university as a freshman, good for them. But because of these incredibly high standards, what we are finding that about 70% of all the students in our College of Agriculture here, those that would be coming into the industry, often come in through a different process. So they can go to another school for 1 year or 2 years if they want to get an associate's degree and then transfer into the College of Agriculture. We have a special transfer policy that allows students that want to study agriculture to get in under that pathway. So it's not something that enough people know about. And I hope that you will help us get out this message about these transfer policies, because we do not have enough people studying agriculture right now. We've got some data. It comes from the Midwest, but it shows that colleges of agriculture, so this could be a 2-year degree, it could be a 4-year degree, it could be a PhD, but we're only training about 60% of the needed college educated workforce for agriculture. And this is agriculturally broadly speaking. So we need to do a better job of getting students to study the things that are important for your industry and for the rest of agriculture. We've got a great opportunity right now, legislatively in Tallahassee. President Simpson, the head of the Senate, is a farmer. Senator Albritton, who is in charge of a lot of the authorities for funding, is a farmer as well. They are in positions right now to make decisions to support agriculture. So it can be the College of Agriculture, it can be Ifas, but it can also be good policies, whether it's right to farm or how we look at pesticides in the state. This is a year where we have some exceptionally strong leadership in Tallahassee, and we need to take advantage of that. We need to push them, we need to push ourselves, and we need to make sure that this is a year where agriculture, which sometimes does not have the best of support in Tallahassee, when we do this year, we need to take advantage of that. And so I look forward to working with all of you to assure that whether it's IFAS or good policy for our industry, that this is one of those years that we can look back on and say, this is where a lot of change was made. So thank you to all of you. Andrea, thank you for what you are doing to help with us today. It's going to be a fun day, and I look forward to hearing more about some of the great work that is going on with our faculty, staff, and students. So with that, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Engel. We're happy you could take time out of your day because I'm sure you're going to be very busy for the rest of it. So thank you for being with us. So we're going to move on to our department updates from the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences. And we're going to start first with the Agronomy Department. And Dr. Kevin Kenworthy is going to give us an update. And a little information about him: he got both his bachelor's and master's degree from Texas Tech University in agronomy and crop science, respectively. His PhD from Oklahoma State University in plant breeding and genetics. And his work in the improvement of turf grasses focuses on developing cultivars that are high quality, yet require fewer inputs. And that's pretty much what we try to do in the beef business. We want a high quality cow, no inputs. But we've not mastered that yet. So maybe we can get some tips from Dr. Kenworthy. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Kenworthy, and he's going to give us an update.
Hello, thank you for that introduction. Certainly, maybe we can learn from each other, because creating that product that's high quality with reduced inputs is certainly a challenge, but we're always working on it. Well, I'm really happy to be here with you this morning. Thank you for the invitation to participate and provide an update from the Agronomy Department. I am the interim chair for the department. Many of you would have known our former chair, Dr. Diane Rowland. She recently accepted a position as Dean of the College of Agriculture at the University of Maine. And we certainly wish Dr. Rowland well in her new position. But there are a lot of good things going on in the Agronomy Department that I want to share with you this morning. Just earlier this year, we've hired 2 new faculty positions in the department. One of those, Dr. Pavel Patelevich, is our new turf weed scientist. So for those of you that use your pastures to supply Bahia grass sod out to the turf industry, then you may need to contact Dr. Patelevich and get some assistance with him with your weed issues. And then we've also hired Dr. William Hammond. He's a new plant ecophysiologist in the department. And Dr. Hammond his strength is really in understanding why plants die from drought and heat. And so he's going to help us to learn to manage our crops more efficiently and help with our breeding programs as well. Other really exciting change is that we've got new positions in the works. We've just recently completed interviews for 2 new positions. Dr. Engel was talking about artificial intelligence, and one of these positions was an AI position for plant breeding using a multi-omics approach. We're in the process of trying to make an offer for that position, so we'll have them on board soon. And then something that would be a position of very much interest to this organization, a nutrient cycling agroecologist position that will be housed here in Gainesville. We've just finished interviewing for this position as well, hope to make an offer very soon. This position is targeted to help modernize our nutrient recommendations for commodities across the state. So we're very excited to have this position, a brand new position in the Agronomy Department. Additionally, we're going to interview, hopefully soon, for another AI position, this one in ecosystem services. And so again, this is another position that could impact cattlemen and the way we understand and manage our pasture. So, we have a lot of hope for these new positions and how they're going to interact with industry and help modernize some of our approaches. Let's see, a couple other quick updates. I want to mention that Dr. Jose DeBow was recently elected or named as a fellow of the American Society of Agronomy and the Crop Science Society of America. Many of you will know Dr. DeBow. He's one of our forage faculty members located in Marianna at the North Florida REC. And a couple other quick updates. Dr. Marcelo Vallau, our forage extension agronomist located in Gainesville, was recently named as the Extension Specialist of the Year from FACAA. And we have a student who was recently awarded a grant, Hunter Smith, a PhD student studying under Chris Wilson, was awarded a grant for forecasting pasture productivity from satellite imagery for use in adaptive grazing management. So those are the quick highlights from the department. Again, I really appreciate being invited to share a few things with you today. And, we've had a lot of change and a lot of challenges within the academic institution over the last year and a half, as has everybody. But I think there are a lot of things to feel optimistic about. We've got students back on campus. Our classrooms are filled during the week, and the swamp is now filled on Saturdays. So I think there are a lot of things to be excited about. Go Gators.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kenworthy, and we appreciate you being with us today. Our next department that's going to give us a report is the Wildlife Ecology and Conservation Department, and that is Dr. Eric Helgren. He has a bachelor's degree in fishery and wildlife biology from Colorado State University, master's from Texas A&M University, a PhD in wildlife science at Virginia Polytech. And he came to the University of Florida in 2013, and his listed specialty is large mammal ecology and wildlife physiology and nutrition. It sounds like that pretty much encompasses everything with wildlife, but for Dr. Hellgren. So Dr. Hellgren, we're going to turn it over to you.
Am I on? All right. Thank you, Laura, and thank you, Brent, for inviting me to give a little update on our department. The wildlife department's only had a faculty member at the ONA Center since 2014, and as Brent said, there's a new hire from our department, Hans Ellington, who started in July of last year, and I really enjoy going down to ONA. The first several years of my career were spent in South Texas at Texas A&M Kingsville, where I really developed an appreciation for working in rangelands. I worked with the Cesar Claiborne Wildlife Institute, which has really close ties to the King Ranch. And so a lot of the focus of that research institute was working with landowners and how wildlife interact with grazing and with cattle grazing in particular. So now we've got Hans on board, and he's got a research and extension appointment. He's already starting projects. Many of you may have seen his Bluebird webinar series. I know he's getting started on a wild pig landowner survey that's going to be looking at developing and implementing best management practices for working with feral pigs on ranches, on cattle ranches. He's also looking at rangeland bird diversity. And I think he's going to become involved with a couple of our other new faculty with other projects, including a turkey project he's developing with Marcus Lashley here in Gainesville. Marcus is another one of our new hires who works particularly with the effects of prescribed fire on wildlife. And he's going to be working down in your part of the country at the DeLuca Preserve and other areas. We've also hired in the last year, Nia Morales. We took her away from Fish and Wildlife Commission, where she was running their social science unit. And she is an expert in human dimensions. And she's working also with Hans and with Marcus on developing that landowner survey and working with landowners. And it's really good to have Hans down there. And I know he's going to talk today about his coyote experience. I'll just repeat that I love that section of Florida because of the really interesting rangeland wildlife questions and their interactions with grazing, particularly things like pigs, coyotes, panthers, black bears. Those are animals that I've worked with in the past, and it's good to see our faculty working with you to really help steward the land for wildlife biodiversity and make it work together with cattle grazing for a really broad brush process. So thanks again for inviting me, and I look forward to my next visit down to ONA. I hope to get down there soon.
Thank you, Dr. Hellgren. We're glad that you could be with us today and for the update. Now we're going to switch over to the Animal Science Department, and we're going to bring back a ONA alumnus, I guess you'd say, Dr. John Arthington. He received his bachelor's degree at Purdue University and both his master's and PhD from Kansas State University. Dr. Arthington is a veteran beef cattle scientist serving research, extension, and administrative duties with UF since 1998. Prior to joining the Department of Animal Sciences as chair in 2019, he served as director of the Range Cattle Research Center for 14 years, and he's here back with us today. So thank you.
Thank you, Laura. It's a pleasure to be here this morning, and I want to congratulate Brent and the faculty and the staff for all of the list of successes that he shared. This is a beautiful center, and I've only been here a couple times the last year, but the facility and the livestock and the people just continue to do great things. I tell folks now when I'm up in Gainesville that, you know, we have opportunities all across the state for different types of agricultural research and outreach, but there's probably no place, maybe in the nation or the world, that combines all of the needs that folks involved in grazing cattle production are concerned about than the Range Cattle Research and Education Center. Particularly in the Southeast, and even my friend Cliff Lamb over at Texas A&M, there's just no place that can compare with the resources that we have here in Florida. At Gainesville and Mariana and here at Ona, we inventory about 1,500 mature cows. We have opportunities in grazing research like you see here, and in confinement and feed efficiency, and in genetics and purebred and crossbred work. So it's really, it's very unique. And I think that because we're here and we work with it and we work with our producers, sometimes we forget just how different it is compared to resources that others might have available. So I just really congratulate all of you for the great work that you're doing here. Dr. Engel talked about things that are going on across the state, and specifically in departments on campus related to undergraduates. So my career of 22, 23 years here at Ona, I never had any involvement with undergraduate development. And it's been something quite different for me. The department is the largest department in terms of undergraduate enrollment, with about 600 students. And we've really been stepping back and thinking about how we are developing that curriculum and delivering that curriculum to those individuals. I think that there's more and more opportunity to incorporate their learning with all of the resources that we have across the state. And just look at the things that we do today in terms of distance learning that we didn't do in the past, and we've gotten even better at that over the last year. One of the things I wanted to point out that I think is interesting and important is what Dr. Engel was talking about with the DeLuca property. Dr. Sellers has been very involved with his leadership there. And we're really interested in how our programs on campus and the work that we do with predominantly with the influence of the Brahman breed on crossbreeding and commercial beef cow productivity in the state, and how we can be a partner in that. So we're initiating those early discussions now. That's going to end up being a major, I think, resource for what we do with beef cattle production in the state of Florida. I wanted to also let you know, or the folks that are on Zoom, about a couple of events that are coming up at the department. Last year, we had to cancel the beef cattle short course. We did it virtually, worked pretty well, but we're excited to try to get back face-to-face this year. The short course is scheduled for May 4th, 5th, and 6th. And we'll start to see some advertisements coming out in the Cattlemen and then on our online systems as we build our way up for that. Dr. Mario Benelli is the chair of the beef cattle short course. And then more, or at least in a shorter period of time, this November 6th, we're having our Alumni Tailgate. This will be the second time that we did it. And so anybody and everybody's invited to this, but we always highlight our student judging teams. So this would be 5 judging teams that we have in the department. It's a fundraising event, but it is a really good time. And that's November the 6th on campus. That's the South Carolina game. Of course, it's an away game, but then we broadcast it there. The last thing that I wanted to do, and Brent pointed this out too, is across campus or across the state, we have some animal sciences faculty that are off campus. And he pointed out the success of Philippe Morial and his successful promotion. And we're really proud of him in the department for that. So if I'm going to be around here a little bit, but if people have any questions or would like to learn more about the things that I talked about, just go to our website and submit a message or ask me a question. I'd be happy to answer it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Arthington. We are glad you made the trip down today, and maybe it's a pleasant getaway for you of some kind. So we're going to get ready to introduce Cliff Coddington. Cliff couldn't be here today, so we're going to be sharing him with a video that Andrea so graciously put together for us. He is president of the Florida Cattlemen's Association. Cliff is a 6th generation Manatee County, Florida resident. Shortly after high school, Cliff went to work for Schroeder Manatee Ranch, and he worked there for 25 years. Cliff then went on to work for Longino Ranch, which is in eastern Sarasota County, as the general manager. Under Cliff's direction, the Longino Ranch was awarded the Farm Bureau's CARES Award for voluntarily implementing BMPs and promoting environmentally sound and economically viable farming practices. Whenever asked, Cliff does not hesitate to assist with extension programming, such as our South Florida Beef Forage Reproduction Management School, or participating in research trials for UF. He has also served on the Range Cattle REC Advisory Committee. Cliff is active in the Manatee and Sarasota County Cattlemen's Associations, and now with his term as president, I'm sure he's busier than ever. So we are probably ready for his video, and we'll share that with you now.
Good morning. I'd like to say thank you for allowing me to be here this morning to give a welcome from the Florida Cattlemen's Association. I'm sorry we're not able to meet here in person. Hopefully this mess with the COVID will soon be cleaning up and we'll be able to get back together soon so we all will be able to enjoy each other. I think about ranching as an industry that we're all so passionate about and wonder about this buzzword, sustainability. Then I think about the Florida being in the cattle business for 500 years, and to me, that explains sustainability more than anything else. Ranchers in Florida have been taking care and protecting our way of life, the environment, the water, the wildlife, and air for over 500 years. What more can you call sustainability than this? This has also been able to come from with the help from the University of Florida for over 160 years and on the research and education for the last 80 years. Again, we welcome you this morning from the Florida Cattlemen's Association.